let's look at the new approach to performance management in a bit more detail. I think I saw you published a great article on LinkedIn at the start of March, and we will provide a link to that article with the podcast. Can you talk us through the 4 elements of the model and the intention behind each?
Yeah. So at the surface, people were telling us they don't like the ratings. Once we peeled that back, there were kind of 4 things we had to address. People were not inspired by the objectives. The objectives were often top down, and had the illusion that great work starts on January 1st of a calendar year and finishes towards the end of the year, where in reality innovation cycles or any type of work runs through very different cycles.
Yeah.
The second thing was that people were actually not getting good quality feedback and coaching. And so often a rating became the only type of feedback that somebody would get from their manager. And they would get that feedback at a time that there was actually a discussion about bonus going on. So there was even kind of a wrong incentive at that moment to give genuine constructive feedback and coaching. And then there was an entire topic around recognition and rewards, and those are even 2 distinct things. People would sometimes say, I understand that there is a budget, so I'm okay to take a lower bonus, but I still want the top rating because I feel I've done a great job this year. So they were basically saying, I don't feel recognized. And then, of course, there is the reward system. And so we still believe in pay for extraordinary performance. And so the concept of everybody getting the same pay when they have delivered a different quality of work did not work for us. So it's those 4 elements: objectives, feedback and coaching, recognition, and rewards we had to tackle.
Yeah. And in terms of what, so what are some of the things that you've done in each of those, each of those areas?
So first, we apply the idea of unbossing to objectives. When people are inspired by a purpose, people are best placed to come up with suggestions of what they think they should be working on to achieve goals or to make progress towards science. And so we have created a process where we have rolling objectives, where people will create big, bold objectives for themselves. Some of them will be on a time frame of 6 weeks, because some things are just urgent, and they say, if I could just spend a few weeks working on this, we could crack this issue. And others will go over 3 years.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we still believe that the strength of the team is bigger than the sum of the individuals. So there is then also a team ceremony where you exchange and also set common big, bold objectives for the team. So in the beginning, that feels actually a little heavier. And that's also the initial feedback we got, where people saying like, man, this is a lot of work, because you really need to think through what you will be working on, and you need to discuss with your colleagues. So if I'm working on this and you're working on that, how will that work together? So that's these big, bold objectives, and then how they break down in your own set of priorities. The second thing is the entire concept of feedback and coaching, where we discovered that this is 2 things. First of all, it's a skill. You need to learn to give feedback. You need to learn to become a better coach. And so we're just so we developed tools We created partnerships through some agile teams. And then we really are training all of our people managers on how to be a good coach and how to provide feedback. And that's a significant investment. At the same time, there is also, again, that self-awareness, the belief that people hold, including myself for a long time, that when you give direct feedback to somebody, that he or she will be disappointed, that it will damage the relation. So we both know that we should be doing this, but why aren't we doing it? We're all bright people. So we also, through our unbossed leadership experience, go deeper into some of those barriers, those beliefs that you will hurt people's feelings when you give them feedback. And so working on that concept, that you can be caring whilst holding people accountable, that these are not contradictory. Yeah. Then when you look at the recognition, there we have created a Spark platform where people can give real-time recognition to each other, not just up and down, but also lateral team recognition. That can be in the form of a funny card. That can be in the form of a nice comment that you send. That can also be in a monetary spot award through points that you assign towards each other. And so we funded that system also that there are points available for people to recognize each other. And we've seen that the uptake has been tremendous, and you can even see a kind of a social network of how people recognize each other throughout the broader universe of Novartis. So it's not just people working shoulder to shoulder that keep on recognizing each other. And then probably the hardest was, how do you still keep a pay for performance type of culture? How do you make sure that at the end of the year people still think, hey, this makes sense? And we've discovered that two things really matter: transparency and fairness. Yeah. It's actually less about the quantum. It's about, I have worked really, really hard, and that other person basically took it easy this year, and we both get the same bonus. That doesn't feel right. So it's that fairness and that transparency we had to solve for. So we've gone with impact. We reward for impact, and impact is both what one has achieved and how you have achieved it. So it's also how you operate in the organization, and that becomes a peer and a team discussion where we say, well, take the difficult year of 2020. Who's really had, or which team really had an impact here? Who's made the difference? And the team will discuss that and say, well, in this case, it was really the clinical trials team. They had to make sure our clinical trials stayed on track, but there were no more in-patient visits. Hospitals were closed. And look, they've come up with a revolutionary concept of remote monitoring. This has really made a tremendous impact for patients and for the company. So this is the team that had a disproportionate impact. And that's where you put a multiplier on these people's bonus, where the rest gets the default. The default being one bonus pool for the company. The company does well, everybody gets a good bonus. The company doesn't do well, everybody takes. So we've also done away with the sub pools where you had internal competition. We have one pool for the entire company.
In this series, we will be speaking to a range of senior leaders who are pushing a data-driven and digital HR agenda. Make sure that you subscribe via your podcast app of choice, and also via our YouTube channel for free and regular interviews with the digital HR leaders of the future.